G'day legends, today we're going to be talking about the ranked fighters in 2025 that can no longer be on the rankings. You see, we're meant to be the premier or fighting organisation in the world. That means we're meant to be the best of the best. When you look at the UFC rankings, that list of 15 fighters is meant to be, without a doubt, the best fighters in the world in that weight class. And as we start to break down these names, you're going to notice that that is absolutely laughable, okay? Some of these people that are still in the rankings, they're senile old men. They couldn't win a fight with a harsh incline on a set of steps, yeah? If I was on a bus and some of these ranked fighters were on a bus and then a couple of yahoos stepped onto the bus, a couple of ruffians to start a fight, I would beg them not to hurt the UFC fighter in the corner because I didn't want him to get his head kicked in, yeah? Like, some of these guys definitely do not deserve to be here. So, we're going to work through it weight class by weight class all the way up from flyweight to heavyweight. Let us get into it. Rankings. The first one up is old man Tim Elliott. This one must be pretty obvious just by looking at it. Tim Elliott is 9-11 in the UFC. I don't even believe that stat as I read it. He's 38 years old and he's in flyweight, mate. Flyweight. Think of Manel Kape's last fight down at flyweight. That is the division in which Tim Elliott is still rolling around the rankings. Oh my god, he actually is 9-11 in the UFC. I literally didn't believe it. I had to check. We're talking about flyweight, yeah? Like, flyweight is the most malnourished, most fighters in the world. All of Southeast Asia fits into the flyweight division. Like, you could take one championship's entire roster and Ryzen's entire roster, and they would fit into the UFC flyweight division. That's that size of people. And you're telling me that Tim Elliott is the 10th best flyweight in the world. Tim Elliott, the 38-year-old handyman. He just walks around just fixing up leaky taps in the suburbs. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Like, every time Tim Elliott speaks on the microphone, great guy, very personable. I like Tim Elliott. I like Tim Elliott a lot. But he does give off those, like, I'm just here as a handyman DIY type of guy vibes. You know, we've got Rontang patrolling the streets of Thailand, looking for people who are being mean to ladyboys. And then over at the Apex at ranked number 10th, we've got Tim Elliott. Comes in, loses a fight, and then changes a light globe on his way out and says, Dana, I'll see you next week, mate. I'll be back. Tim Elliott cannot be the 10th best flyweight in the world. It's time to let him go. I'm sorry, Timmy boy. Moving on up to the bantamweight division. Now, you know him. I know him. We love him. But Rob Font, he's 37 years old, yeah? He's 2-4 in his last 6 fights. The dude is the 9th best bantamweight in the world. Really? I mean, he was in there against Marlon Vera. He was, and he broke records against Marlon Vera. He beat the living hell out of Marlon Vera. But you would never know that by the way the fight ended. The way that the way that each of them looked when that fight was done, you would assume that Marlon Chito Vera had just put a clinic on Rob Font, not the other way around. Rob Font's career has gotten to such a point where, yeah, he like, you and Rob Font could be on the train in the subway and he could beat the piss out of you, but he would be the one leaving the station looking like he just lost the fight. And again, when you take someone like Rob Font, you've got to put them with the skill level of their division. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking about bantamweight. We're talking about bantamweight here. Maybe the most competitive division in the world. And you got Rob Font ranked as the 9th best bantamweight in the planet. We were all saying that Petr Yan is washed because he lost a couple of fights to some absolute killers. Some of the legitimate best fighters on the planet at the time. Petr Yan had 3 bad ones in a row and we're like, that's it, his career's over, it's washed. Time to ship him off to the GFL. Yet we're still allowing Rob Font to just kick buckets around at number 9th. It doesn't make any sense to me. Rob Font, thank you so much for everything that you've done, but this year is your year to be kicked off the list, mate. I'm sorry. You're no longer going to be ranked after this year. We can't have it. We can't be seen as a legitimate organization and have Rob Font just rolling around. Which means we're moving on up to featherweight. Now, this one's going to get me in trouble with the missus. This one, I'm going to end up homeless after this one, boys. I'm getting kicked out after this one, okay? Calvin Kattar, the 10th best featherweight in the world, really. 36 years old, 1-4 in his last 5. I love Calvin Kattar in this house. My missus, she's from Boston. I remember like Calvin Kattar back in the day, one of the like when I was first getting her to watch the UFC, getting her into the UFC, Calvin Kattar would always be one of those easy ones to go and point to. The dude feels like he has been in the UFC though since UFC 1. He is legitimately one of the best boxers in the UFC, but people forget, man. People, they can't appreciate it, right? Because all we have burnt into our minds, all we can remember is Max Holloway beating the living piss out of Calvin Kattar. That's all we can see. And even though he is one of the best boxers in the world, you can't have that happen to you and ever forget it. It's like accidentally seeing Nan's saggy tits when she steps out of the shower. It's just burnt into your mind for the rest of your life. And I'm sure back in the day, you know, Nan, grandma, she was a beautiful woman back in the day. But now all we can think of is her saggy tits getting out of the shower. And that's sort of Calvin Kattar's boxing. That's what it's become in 2025. Just a set of old grandma saggy tits. His boxing, it's still phenomenal, but he has got to be ranked 16th or 17th in the rankings and be that kind of a gatekeeper. Like, all you have to do is out MMA Calvin Kattar. So really, the top 15 should be MMA fighters, not just a boxer from Boston who knows how to get the hell beaten out of him, but give a couple back and still look good doing it. Moving on up to lightweight. This one is easy, bro. Michael Chandler, 2-4 in the UFC. And one of those two is Tony Ferguson, which we know does not count, right? You could give your dog Tony Ferguson. You could put Tony Ferguson in the cage and your dog in the cage and lock the door and your dog will come out winning. You could do it with your baby. So technically, Michael Chandler is 1-4 in the UFC and he's ranked number 7th at lightweight at 38 years old. Think about that, man. That is a insane ranking to keep. You cannot have that in the UFC lightweight division. Lightweight. That is the one where the most fighters in the world are. I know I said it about the malnourished down at flyweight, but lightweight is the one. That is the premier division in MMA. That's just where you have the most competition in all the organizations around the entire planet. And you're going to sit there and tell me that Michael Cheating Chandler is the 7th best in the world? I will not have it, boys. All he does is cheat. The Dustin Poirier fight, he was grabbing the gloves, he was fish hooking the mouth, he was trying to spit blood into Dustin Poirier. The Charles Oliveira fight, he damn near tried to kill Charles Oliveira by dropping hammer fists into the back of his head. And you know, Michael, that you are in trouble and you did something wrong when you've got to get on Ariel Helwani with the tape measure and the rules of MMA and the stipulations and start breaking everything down point by point. When you're getting forensical with your defense, Michael Chandler, you've probably hit Charles Oliveira on the back of the head too many times. Michael Chandler's entire existence for being at number 7th is just in case Cokehead McGregor comes back to the UFC and they can give him an easy win. That is all, because you cannot think that we are going to get a 2025 Conor McGregor main event against Beneil Dariush. That's just never happening. So you need someone with some microphone skill in the lightweight division that Conor McGregor can beat, just on the happen chance that Conor McGregor wakes up one morning, coughs out the powder, and decides, you know what, today I'm not going to drag a midget kicking and screaming to a basketball changing room. I'm not going to do that today. I might try and be an MMA fighter again. That is the only reason that Michael Chandler exists. Moving on up to welterweight, we're going with Colby Covington. Yeah, this one is easy, right? Like, Colby Covington, he doesn't have a single win. He doesn't have a single win in the top 15. Not a single ranked win. All he does is cope. Like, Colby was the man back in the day. 2016, 2017, that early stages of BLM versus MAGA, when it was Colby Covington and Tyrone Woodley. That was great entertainment to watch. To watch all the trash talking and then dancing around the fight, and then he eventually got in there with Kamaru Usman. But it feels like Colby Covington's entire career culminated with Kamaru Usman turning his jaw into powder, just crushing it. And that was as good as things could ever get for Colby Covington. We had the war of words, and then it ended with a really satisfying finish one way or the other. And that was great. But what has he done since then? He has done nothing but lose, screw up his own shtick. Like, it feels like this character that he's fallen into is not nearly as good as it used to be. It's very overdone. He can't remember any of his lines anymore. He doesn't know how to speak clearly anymore, and he just loses. And then he spent all of 2024 ducking a vegan rooster, Ian Gary, and then got his bloody head kicked in by the Raging Bull Buckley. The black DDP absolutely destroyed him, which is, there's no shame in that. Like, Buckley is going to be a future champ. But you spent the year ducking a vegan, and then, like, a doctor had to come in and save your life, Colby Covington. It's over, bro. Your spot in the rankings, it's over. Which leaves us rising to the top, down over at middleweight, Paulo Costa. I know, you might be shocked to hear that. Paulo Costa might be one of your favorite fighters. But look at him. Look at him. Look at Paulo Costa. Really sit down and look at it. He's ranked number 11th. His last win was Luke Rockhold, which was still somehow a war against Luke Rockhold. Think about that. Luke Rockhold is being sent to the GFL, the Grandpa Fighting League. That was Paulo Costa's last win. And since then, he hasn't had a win since 2019, boys. And he is somehow ranked with a win from 2019 and Luke Rockhold. The best thing about Paulo Costa was that he used to be a meme lord. But I feel like Paulo was a meme lord back in like 2020, 2022, when X was still Twitter. And it was easy. It was easy to be a meme lord on Twitter. You know, every single word was banned. It didn't take a lot to be an edgelord on Twitter. All you had to do was show a flag with the color orange and black next to each other, which just signified, like, I'm a straight person. And that annoyed everybody on Twitter. It was easy back in the day to be a meme lord. But Paulo, this is 2024 now. Twitter has become X. Bloody everything is allowed, mate. This is the full-on PvP Albion Black Zone, no ranked matchups of meme game. It takes a little bit more to be a meme lord than just saying the word secret juice over and over again. So Paulo Costa, he's lost his ability to meme. He's lost the server that he used to play on in memeing, and now he doesn't even win fights. Like, Paulo, what do you do? Why are you ranked number 11? Paulo Costa could send a head kick up at Robert Whittaker, maybe the most chinny man in the world, and Whittaker could still take it. Bro, if you land a clean head kick on Robert Whittaker and you can't finish him, you shouldn't be a ranked MMA fighter. And lastly, finishing off, I know there's 2 divisions left, but I'm going to finish off lightweight and heavyweight the same way. Get rid of all of them. On all of them. Get rid of lightweight and heavyweight. Heavyweight is the most garbage division in the world. Get rid of all of the rankings and merge light heavyweight and heavyweight into a singular division. It starts at 205 and the cutoff is 235. And instead of there being scales, we don't have scale. We have that, you know, that scanning BMI machine? They plop the blobs onto that. They plop them onto that and they scan them. And if you're over 25% body fat, you get sent back to the PI to keep running laps. It's an absolute bloody disgrace that you have ranked fighters on ESPN on Saturday night that are just fat and sweaty, just rubbing up against each other. And we try and call that a legitimate sport. It's a goddamn shame it is. Now, I know that under my new rule set, under my new plan for 2025, the UFC are going to have a lot of trouble trying to fill out the apex for the rest of the year. They're not going to be able to fill out the apex for the rest of the year. But I think it's going to be a better product for us, the fans. Rather than having 47 events in 2025, we might only have, say, 30 events in 2025. And you might only get an apex event once every 2 months. But it's going to save us watching 2 fat men sweat on each other and pretend like it's a decent competition. That's it. Who would you want to see kicked out of the rankings? Now, if this is your first time here, g'day, my name's Dougie. I try and make an MMA video every single day of the week. So hit that subscribe button, and I try and go live about 3 times a week. So if you want to know when that happens, hit that notification bell right there next to that subscribe button. And if you guys are already on board with the channel, you know what to do. Hit that like button, and of course, I'll see you all in the next video.